watching the 7 o'clock news on CNC3. I'm Ria Rambali.
I'm Ryan Bechu.
I am Jassi Marik with sport.
And I'm Sigoni Mohammed with your weather report.
Let's tell you what's making the news tonight. Despite going for another 3-month extension, the PM insists the SOE is still a temporary crime-fighting measure.
Prisoner found dead inside maximum security prison. Police launch a murder investigation after the inmate is discovered with fatal injuries in his cell.
After Mercedes Lane's murder, the Prime Minister reveals there's a cabinet note to address PH taxis, but says regulation won't be easy.
Coming up in sport, shot stopper Denzel Smith keeps things respectable for the Soca Warriors, but Russia keeps TNT on the wrong end of a 3-0 scoreline.
The weather is behaving itself for now, but a tropical wave is quietly getting closer and could make tomorrow look very different. I've got the full detail in tonight's weather report.
Prime Minister Kamla Persad-Bissessar is tonight insisting that the states of emergency implemented by her government are temporary measures to fight crime and a strategy that is sorely needed to reverse a quarter-century of violence.
Tomorrow, the government goes to Parliament to request a 3-month extension to its second SOE since taking office. And as the Prime Minister tells us, the vast majority of people and citizens are on board with the government's action.
Akash Samaru has more.
While questions persist on if the Kamla Persad-Bissessar-led administration will keep the country mostly under a state of emergency for their entire term in office, the Prime Minister is still insisting that these emergency powers are temporary measures. Speaking with CNC3 News on the eve of what is in essence the second extension of the second SOE since they came into power, the Prime Minister said these measures are temporary but necessary to arrest what she called 25 years of torment at the hands of murderers, rapists and robbers. She said the protection of law-abiding citizens supersedes everything, and SOEs are necessary because there cannot be another quarter-century of violence. CNC3 News took note of the word temporary and asked the Prime Minister, how long again does she see this temporary measure being in play? The PM argued that a few months to initiate actions to deal with threats to the state and its people is definitely temporary compared to 25 years of violence. In assessing the population, she argued that while most citizens are law-abiding, Trinidad and Tobago is facing growing social problems driven by pornography, alcohol and drug abuse, poor parenting, and mental health challenges. She said society has become increasingly hypersexualized and aggressive, with many people acting on emotion and seeking instant gratification rather than exercising self-control and good judgment, leaving children particularly vulnerable. The Prime Minister said the government has been tackling crime through a broad social strategy, including placing police officers in schools, developing parental responsibility legislation, and raising the legal age for gambling, alcohol and marijuana use. She also pointed to efforts to create jobs and remove gangs from communities, arguing that the government has pursued a holistic anti-crime plan across multiple ministries since taking office. Acknowledging that some people are against the government's crime-fighting strategy, Persad-Bissessar said, while citizens want crime to decrease, many are unwilling to accept the sacrifices or adjustments needed to achieve lasting improvements. She maintained that the overwhelming majority of law-abiding citizens and businesses support the government's measures to address threats to national security and public safety. Akash Samaru, CNC3 News.
We also asked the Prime Minister if there will be another extension to the SOE in September. However, she said it's too early to speculate on that.
As government moves to extend emergency powers for 3 more months, the opposition is not backing down from its threat of legal action. The PNM believes the government is both abusing the regulations and utilizing a loophole. Meanwhile,
the Patriotic Front claims the state of emergency is not about crime fighting, but rather suppression of public opinion.
Tomorrow's 3-month extension of the state of emergency is more or less a done deal. It requires a mere simple majority in the lower house, which the government already commands. But the opposition is concerned that a constitutional loophole is being exploited. You see, under Section 10 of the Constitution, if the government wants to keep the SOE in place beyond 6 months, it needs opposition support, meaning a 3/5 majority in both the House and the Senate. Although the UNC has governed under states of emergency for a total of about 9.5 months, it has not yet needed that special majority because it ended the last SOE after 6 months and then came with a fresh one a month after, thus restarting the process. PNM Chairman Marvin Gonzalez says the opposition is taking careful note of this and will be monitoring a suspected pattern where the government will continue to use SOEs up to the 6-month mark, ending it and coming with a new one. Speaking on CNC3's The Morning Brew, Gonzalez reiterated that legal action against the state, even with this upcoming extension, is still a real possibility, with their attorneys focusing on a major concern.
Whether the framers of the Constitution had intended for a state of emergency to be utilized by the executive arm of the state to treat with normal everyday criminality in our country. So that is being examined.
But the PNM isn't the only party raising issue with this proposed extension.
The government says that this extension of the state of emergency is about fighting crime. I don't believe it.
The Patriotic Front leader believes the SOEs are more about suppressing the voices of citizens through restrictions on protest and public dissent.
Barry Padarak now says criticism of this government is rooted in hatred of the UNC, racism and prejudice. What nonsense.
Away from the politicians and criminologist Dr. Randy C. Prasad said, while the SOEs have proven effective in reducing crime, it should not become a long-term feature of governance.
No country should rely on a state of emergency in an ongoing manner, meaning that you have to work very diligently towards transitioning out of a state of emergency. It has a time and place. Ideally, it should be a very limited time and place.
Prime Minister Kamla Persad-Bissessar was asked to respond to the opposition's threat of legal action against the SOEs. The PM said, may God help them with that group of attorneys on their bench. Akash Samaru, CNC3 News.
Well, as government prepares to extend the SOE, we asked if you agreed with comments from the Shagwana's Business Chamber president that curfews should be introduced in hotspot communities.
This is what you had to tell us.
Of course, I would like to support a curfew in this country with the amount of crime it has. Too much of crime.
Despite whatever decision the government makes, at the end of the day, we still have to survive, we still have to do what we have to do. And to dig more deeper into that, I more give my directions towards more spirituality.
No curfew, no curfew. Curfew will help. And they will come out after the curfew and do what they want still, the criminals. What laws has this government put in place for the criminals in this country?
It didn't make sense, to be honest, because you're going to have people walking the road late anyhow. And I find yes, it don't even make sense, to be honest.
It doesn't make any sense because the crime's still high. So, no.
I don't think they should focus on things like hotspots. I think right now, anywhere going to Chennai could be a hotspot.
A 48-year-old prisoner at the maximum security prison in Aruca early this morning. Police say a prison officer was making the rounds inspecting cells at the prison around 5:30 a.m. when he noticed Christopher Banfield in a fetal position on the floor. The officer called for help from others and noticed that Banfield's face was swollen with blood oozing from his mouth. Banfield was taken to the prison infirmary where no vital signs were detected. A district medical officer officially declared him dead. An inmate has since been detained and held for questioning. Speaking with CNC3 News, President of the Prison Officers Association, Jared Gordon, describes the incident as tragic, but notes that such incidents speak directly to staffing concerns raised by his association, as he lamented that due to insufficient manpower, prison officers were unable to perform thorough cell inspections after dark.
Given the current constraints that we have, our ability to interrupt, intercept, and prevent these things is very much compromised. That is what I will say to that question.
When contacted for comment, Acting Prisons Commissioner Carlos Carraspi said he preferred not to speculate over the cause of Banfield's death as he has not yet received the official report. But he noted that prison officers were required to fulfill their duties regardless of constraints.
One expects that there would be some challenges in terms of staffing, but one expects that when you are working on night duty, even on your routine tours of inspection, you will try to engage inmates. You will try to be alert to what may be happening.
Crasby said Banfield was charged with murder but declined to comment further on the matter.
Still to come in the news, unions demand urgent talks with the Prime Minister, concerned that no protest zones threaten workers' rights and freedom of expression.
A Tobago family is demanding accountability after a 37-year-old man is wounded in a confrontation involving a police officer.
Coming up in sport, West Indies women's captain Hayley Matthews says fearless cricket will take them through the World Cup.
Extra, read all about it.
We are more than headlines, more than stories on a page.
The Trinidad and Tobago Guardian newspaper, your favorite national newspaper, is relaunching its community feature section with one major focus in mind.
It's all about we Trinis.
We life and culture.
We heritage.
We health.
We food. We music.
We community.
We men.
We women.
We kids, yay! Everything we love and adore. We are every part of Trinidad and Tobago. And now, We is a space where every reader sees themselves reflected. Introducing We, The Guardian's bold new celebration, a magazine dedicated to irresistible stories and features that celebrate the very best of Trini life. Our stories, our culture, our life.
Homicide officers probing the murder of 12-year-old Mercedes Lane visited the suspect's home in Palo Seco today as part of ongoing investigation.
The 26-year-old man remains in police custody as detectives continue to seek information to establish a clearer timeline of events. A team also visited key locations linked to the case, including the area the child was last seen before being placed in a PH taxi, as well as the Lane's family home. As the public continues to express concern and horror over the murder of Mercedes and other recent cases involving children, one NGO is calling on the government to re-establish the Gender and Child Affairs Ministry to address increasing cases of homicide and violence against women and children.
We call on the government of Trinidad and Tobago and we call on our Prime Minister to urgently re-establish a Ministry of Gender and Child Affairs with dedicated resources to address the rise in femicides and rise in gender-based violence across Trinidad and Tobago. We reiterate our call for a special court to address gender-based violence.
The Children's Authority also visited Mercedes' grieving family last night, offering support as the investigation continues. The child's semi-nude body was found in a forested area of Carapal Road in Erin one day after she went missing.
An autopsy revealed she had been beaten to death. And there are calls for Prime Minister Kamla Persad-Bissessar to recommit to a child-centered approach to national development. This plea comes from Childhood Justice Collective convener Marcus Kissoon, who urged the Prime Minister to draw on her long-standing history of engagement with civil society organizations and advocates for children.
I'm actually calling on the Prime Minister, Kamla Persad-Bissessar, to remember her earlier work with people like Hazel Brown and Diana Mahabir Wyatt, and when she worked with the Hindu Women's Organization, and when she really invested in the school child to think about where her mind, her analysis was, and where her heart was when she centered the nation's children in national development strategic planning.
Kissoon also called for Child and Gender Affairs to have its own ministry.
At present, this responsibility falls under the Ministry of the People, Social Development and Family Services. Attempts to contact Minister Vandana Mohit were unsuccessful.
The Prime Minister says Cabinet is considering measures aimed at improving public transportation services and reducing reliance on unregulated PH taxi operators.
Responding to questions from CNC3 News, Kamla Persad-Bissessar revealed that a Cabinet cabinet note is currently under consideration as part of efforts to strengthen traffic management and improve the public transport system. The proposal seeks to reduce reliance on page vehicles operating within cities and encourage greater use of legitimate, regulated public transportation providers. She explained that the initiative would also address long-standing concerns that taxis and maxi taxis are often required to drop off passengers outside city limits, forcing commuters to either walk considerable distances or seek alternative transportation to complete their journeys. Meanwhile, former Works and Transport Minister Rohan Sinanan felt the incident had heightened public concern regarding unregulated passenger transport services. He argues that the absence of a formal regulatory framework makes it more difficult to verify operators, monitor activity, enforce standards, and investigate incidents when they occur.
13 trade unions are calling for an urgent meeting with the Prime Minister. The group that calls themselves the Progressive Independent Trade Unions delivered a letter to the office of the Prime Minister today seeking talks over 15 no-protest zones.
The union leaders say the measures threaten their ability to represent workers and exercise their democratic right to protest. Otto Carrington has more.
With protests now prohibited within 500 meters of 15 designated locations in Port of Spain, trade union leaders use a measuring tape to demonstrate their frustration.
So every time we go somewhere, right? That's what listen to. So every time we go somewhere, we have to walk with a measuring tape. Every time we have to walk with a measuring tape.
After threatening legal action over the no-protest zone, the Prime Minister refused to back down and the unions aren't giving up either. On Tuesday, 13 leaders delivered a letter to the office of the Prime Minister at Whitehall, led by Tutor President Crystal Ash. The unions are seeking dialogue over the controversial 500-meter restriction on public demonstrations.
We don't believe that it was the most well thought of because there was no dialogue, no communication. And in the absence of communication, then it's sometimes, just sometimes, you have the wrong decision being made. And we are willing. Let us get together, let's discuss, let us see if we could find a compromise, a middle ground. Madam Prime Minister, you have the ability to chew through this matter.
Asked about the absence of Ansel Roger and JTAM's leadership from the delegation, Ash declined to speculate on Roger's absence, but maintained that all unions had been informed of the initiative.
We, this 13 of us, we are here. There's no shift, there's no rift, there's no division. We are here to articulate something because if other persons are not doing it, we can't wait for them. We can't wait for them. We have to do what is necessary. Our members are hurting. They need their voices to be heard.
Ash argued that the 500-meter restriction would make it difficult for unions to effectively stage demonstrations and represent workers. He also indicated that if the government ultimately declined the union's request, any future response would be decided collectively.
It will not be a unilateral decision. It is not Tutor's decision alone. All the independent unions who are here, we will get together and we will determine the way forward. We cannot divulge that to you at this point in time because when you're doing little, you can't let everybody know your business.
The unions are optimistic about meeting Prime Minister Kamala Persad-Bissessar soon. Otto Carrington, CNC3 News.
The family of a Palatuvier man is demanding justice tonight following the latest police-involved shooting in Tobago. According to police, 37-year-old Osai Murray was shot in his abdomen during a confrontation with an officer at Bloody Bay during harvest celebrations. Police say Murray approached the cop aggressively with a piece of bamboo and struck him on his arm. They claimed he raised the bamboo to strike again when the officer drew his licensed gun and fired at close range. The injured man was taken to Roxborough Hospital by his sibling Ryan Woods and later transferred to Scarborough General Hospital, where he remains warded. Woods said Murray remains in serious condition, having lost one of his kidneys, while the bullet also damaged his liver and intestines. Murray's family says there has been bad blood since the policeman began dating Murray's former companion.
This is that thing we're going on years now. From since the police are with you, he's threatening my brother. All I do tell my brother, when you see him, go on the right side and leave him on the left side like going my way. And yesterday, no, he get the opportunity to where he could shoot my brother and stay in. He's saying that all. My brother pull a bamboo for him and hit him with it.
Murray's siblings say they have lost faith in police and do not trust them to investigate one of their own.
the whole village vex, right about now. Because everybody turn and tell me, you as a big brother, well, they do all they have to do and get justice. So right now, I want justice to solve nobody. Yeah, trust me, because right now, I ain't feeling 200, you know. Trust me, I ain't feeling 200 because me and like to tell you, I'm still last night. No.
Police Complaints Authority head David West told CNC3 News the PCA is aware of the incident and an investigator is on the ground gathering the facts. In business news, Scotiabank TT says a new tax introduced in the 2026 budget cut into its profits despite continued growth in loans, insurance and digital banking.
Meanwhile, government has signed a new offshore energy agreement with ExxonMobil and Oxy as it looks to bring more exploration and future gas production to TNT.
Andrea Perez-Sobas has more in tonight's Business Watch.
Scotiabank TT is reporting lower profits for the first half of its financial year, with the bank pointing directly to the new asset levy introduced in the 2026 budget. The banking group earned $301 million after tax for the 6 months ending April 2026. That's $39 million less than the same period last year, representing an 11% decline. For the second quarter alone, profits came in at $140 million, down $20 million or 13% from the previous quarter. In simple terms, the bank says its core business remains strong, but the new tax on financial institutions reduced the amount of money left over as profit. Managing Director Gail Pesos says the company continues to perform well in an increasingly competitive market. The bank recorded 6% growth in retail loans compared to a year ago. That helped drive a 4% increase in interest income earned from lending activities. Shareholders will receive a second quarter dividend of 70 cents per share. Turning to other business news, government is moving ahead with plans to boost oil and gas exploration. Energy Minister Dr. Rudal Munilal on Monday signed a production sharing contract for the ultra-deep offshore block with ExxonMobil and Occidental Petroleum, known as Oxy. The deal gives the companies the green light to move forward with exploration activities in the block and is one of the first major energy announcements from the new administration. The signing took place at the Ministry of Energy and Energy Industries in Port of Spain. ExxonMobil and Oxy are already well-known players in the regional energy industry, and government is hoping continued investment from companies of that scale will help drive exploration activities. And now for a look at today's energy and foreign exchange prices. Andrea Perez-Sobas, CNC3 Business Watch.
Residents of Ridgewood Gardens, Golconda are facing a growing crisis every time it rains. For more than 5 years, a collapsed drain has been affecting the community as it often sends water gushing through their properties. When CNC3 News visited the area yesterday, muddy runoff and slush was seen across sections of the roadway. Water had passed through yards, clogging drains and leaving visible damage along walkways. In some homes, soil erosion had already begun to undermine structures, leaving cracks on walls and water-soaked yards.
The drain has been collapsed behind this house and the house just before it. And because of that, all the water backs up and flow into other people's yard. That has caused erosion and water soak. It's actually soaked. The yard is soaked with water. And erosion under the houses, so the foundation have been compromised. Eroded to the point where you're seeing 2 and 3 yards between the floor and where the skirting was of the house. You're seeing that.
Luis Diaz says residents have repeatedly raised the issue with authorities. She says letters were sent to the Penal-Debe Corporation with complaints later forwarded to the Housing Development Corporation in March. But residents say no physical work has started despite previous visits and promises.
Remember, we sacrificing and trying to own our home, you know. And when things like this happen, the government not doing anything. whether PNM or UNC, nobody ain't doing nothing. No longer drink collapse and causing problems to people down here. Poor people go twice. I brought the excavator here. You can't bring an excavator here, cost me $4,000. And I brought it twice. And maintain it on my own.
Residents say they are now calling for urgent intervention before further damage is done to homes during the rainy season.
Contacted this afternoon, HDC Chairman Feroz Khan said he was unaware of the issue and would make inquiries after receiving details from CNC3 News. Well, let's tell you what's still to come in the news. Holy Name Convent opens a confidential complaints portal as an independent review gets underway into allegations from current and former members.
After the break, find out why marine users should keep a close eye on the forecast once the easterly wave arrives.
What if we each took one small action today that could have big impact tomorrow? What if one family took a stand to reduce waste in our landfills? What if one school made a choice that can lead to a greener Trinidad and Tobago? When you recycle glass, you create jobs, reduce waste, save resources, and help preserve our environment. Glass bottles and jars are 100% recyclable and can be reused indefinitely. Recycle your glass and join the Glass Loop movement today.
KC Ginger Mint, your trusted and natural wellness. Now with healthier options. KC Ginger Mint with honey and lime. KC Ginger Mint with orange and KC Ginger Mint with lemon. KC Ginger, honey, lemon, lime, and orange. Natural and trusted for generations for soothing sore throats and digestion and boost immunity. Get your new KC Candy Ginger Mint extended range today and breathe naturally.
Things don't always go as expected. Be ready with Trinry for auto, home, business and group life. Call us at 800 Trin or visit trinry.com today. Huge insurance premium. Pay your premiums bit by bit with FlexiPay from Trinry. For more manageable auto, home and commercial insurance payments, call us at 800 Trin or visit trinry.com today. Trinry, premier insurance coverage for less.
Dennis Lawrence header was easily the most important goal in our nation's history.
It was a moment that united a nation, built on the biggest gamble in Trinidad and Tobago football.
Sometimes you have to be a villain to be a hero.
But 2 decades later, what happened to the legacy?
Not only have we failed, we've regressed.
From the Edge of Glory, a repeat of the epic documentary, June 10th on CNC3. Welcome back. Holy Name Convent Port of Spain has launched a confidential complaints portal as part of an independent review into allegations and concerns raised by current and former members of the school.
The portal will remain open until July 10th. An independent review committee is expected to submit its findings and recommendations to the Board of Management before the September school term. The review follows public discussions and allegations involving Principal Sister Renee Hall, which emerged after a Mother's Day profile, which prompted past and present students to share their experiences online. The board said the committee will operate independently of both the board and school administration. A separate professional care unit has also been established to provide emotional and psychological support to those affected. The board is encouraging people to use the formal process and allow both bodies to carry out their work independently. You can find a link to the portal on the Guardian and CNC3 websites.
Cedar Grove Private School in Palm East has been temporarily closed as they address a rodent presence on the compound.
School officials stress that the situation is not an infestation but an isolated incident triggered by the recent clearing of a vacant lot directly opposite the school. According to a statement by the Cedar Grove Corporate Society Board of Directors, the move took effect today after a mandatory inspection revealed the external migration remained active around the compound despite extensive cleaning efforts over the weekend. As a precautionary measure, administrators activated the school's business continuity plan to protect students and staff while ensuring classes continue remotely.
Well, whilst I can't give a specific date and time, what we have done is aimed to reopen within a 2-week period. And that 2-week period is designed to allow for any operational activities to be performed during this week. And then we'll allow for a couple of days over the weekend and into the following week for monitoring to make sure that we don't have a recurrence.
Now, the board assured that they are aggressively addressing the situation and working closely with the Education Ministry, the Penal Regional Health Corporation, and has also engaged independent specialists to address the problem permanently.
WASA says its Beach booster station was forced offline today after vandals stole critical electrical wiring, causing a complete power failure at the facility.
In a statement, the authority strongly condemned what it described as a brazen act of vandalism. The theft was discovered early this morning, forcing the booster station out of operation at approximately 6 a.m.
The disruption has affected water service to several communities, with residents in Chiruma, Beach, Plumitan, and the surrounding areas reporting low water pressure or interruptions to their supply.
WASA says TNTech was immediately notified and crews from both agencies are working to repair the damaged infrastructure and restore normal operations as quickly as possible.
The authority is also reminding the public that vandalism of public property is a criminal offense. Sigoni, you mentioned earlier the weather is behaving itself, or now is it going to continue behaving itself?
It is not going to be behaving itself. It's actually going to start to change. We have tropical waves, back-to-back waves moving into the area. So we're going to start to see that transition from dry to wet and then back again to dry. So let's take a look at that forecast, because you may just have to dust off the umbrellas into this forecast outlook. Not so much right now, but I'll tell you when. Into what's happening over the islands right now, we have a tropical wave, which is this massive cloud on your screen. That's going to be moving into the area in a westward fashion, already impacting parts of Guyana and into the northeastern quadrant of Venezuela. For Trinidad and Tobago, we're starting to see some clouds streaming in at times. Tobago reporting showers, but Trinidad not too bad, relatively fair or even partly cloudy pockets moving in our area, but not a lot to talk about. Parts of Rio Claro right now getting some quick passing showers, and in Tobago after midnight we'll see showers developing. But at the moment things are quiet. Temperatures are relatively comfortable into this evening's forecast because we haven't yet started to feel the impacts of this tropical wave. The big question is always how much of that wet weather we actually going to get. We can get the clouds, yes, and we could get the cooler temperatures over the next few days, but will it bring meaningful rainfall? And that is yet to be seen, because in this forecast not everybody's going to get the same weather. And here's what's happening. We have tropical waves 12 through 14 moving into the general area. They're going to push westward and pull well into Trinidad and Tobago and then pull into the Caribbean Sea. The thing is that in our forecast, if we really look at what's happening here, tomorrow for Trinidad kicks off on the sunny side and then becomes increasingly cloudy, and then we start to see those showers kick in. But this is where it gets interesting, because not everywhere will get heavy downpours. According to the outlook, southern portions of Trinidad will actually see thunderstorms or heavier downpours, whereas parts of western Trinidad and even parts of the east we'll see some moderate showers coming into play, other areas lighter showers. So you want to be mindful as we go through this forecast into the evening period. We continue to see the cloudiness, and again, shower reactivity will be fluctuating across Trinidad and even in Tobago, where we do have intermittent clouds kicking off the morning period, cloudy skies throughout, and showers again with varying intensities. And if you do get a heavy downpour, you may get gusty winds, you may get localized street or flash flooding. So be mindful of that when you're commuting. If you're heading offshore because of that tropical wave, we will see some slightly choppy conditions in the nearshore areas, and that's what's going to be impacting your outlook if you are heading offshore within the next 24 to 48 hour period. Other than that, spring tide is not a big player right now, but it's coming back as the week progresses, and that's when we're going to have some more reason to exercise extra caution if you're venturing offshore. But for everyone else, when you're commuting, umbrellas on hand most definitely, and be mindful of your surroundings.
All right, thank you so much, Sigoni. Let's tell you what's still to come in the news. At just 10 years old, Amy Eaton makes history, already tackling CSEC exams and inspiring others to chase their dreams.
Living with diabetic neuropathy is exhausting. The burning pain and tingling that won't go away? Introducing Myolaxin D Gel, made for pain relief. Fast absorbing, non-greasy, and easy to apply. Its Carbomer gel formula delivers relief deep at the nerve level. Oleoresin capsicum helps reduce pain signals, while diclofenac eases inflammation. Menthol and camphor provide fast, soothing comfort, so the pain eases and comfort returns. Size doesn't matter. This 15-gram tube gives you maximum relief. Myolaxin D-Gel, available at pharmacies nationwide.
Discover the taste of tradition with Fine Choice Meats. Our products are made with locally grown chickens, raised on a healthy low-fat diet with no added hormones or steroids. Our commitment to quality guarantees a delicious and nourishing culinary journey. From our farms to your family, choose Fine Choice Meats.
Good day, Trinidad and Tobago. A safer nation begins with you standing up, speaking out, and doing your part. As your Commissioner of Police, I am prepared to do my part. Are you prepared to do your part? Get on board. Are you on board?
I am Bishop Ezekiel Clark, President of the Couva Police Station Community Council, and I am proud to say that I am on board with the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service in their fight against crime in Trinidad and Tobago.
I am Panis Dean Gulston. And I am Panis Johan Chakri. And crime prevention is everybody's business.
Hi, I am Sajina Kadir, attorney at law and team lead for the attorneys for the TTPS Community Justice Clinic. We support the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service in the fight against crime.
Crime prevention is everybody's business. I am Shiraz Khan. I am a farmer. I support the TTPS in the fight against crime.
My name is Baldak Maraj, President of the Shagwana Chamber of Industry and Commerce. Crime fighting is everybody's business.
We are all on board.
Welcome back. With the deadline to vacate the cross-crossing vending zone taking effect tomorrow, many vendors began removing their carts today, fearing they could be forcibly evicted. But they are now making a new appeal for works on the strip to be delayed.
The vendors say they received official notice from the San Fernando City Corporation on Saturday with no prior warning, informing them that they must vacate the facility by tomorrow to facilitate 2 weeks of maintenance and remedial works. With just 2 business days' notice, they say there has been insufficient time to make the necessary arrangements for their businesses. They also estimate that more than 100 workers who depend on the vending zone for their livelihood could be left without an income during the closure, placing them in a vulnerable position. The vendors are now making another appeal to officials to consider their concerns and delay the works temporarily to allow them adequate time to put measures in place.
The issue that we have is not that we don't want the cross to be cleaned, right? We all have been begging for maintenance and repairs and whatnot for months and years now. Right, but that hasn't happened. The issue that we have is there was no clear communication as to timeline and when things are being done. Standard practice in a situation like this, we should have received at least a 2 weeks notice or 30 days notice ideally, but we received just a few days notice.
The vendors say after their attempt to meet with officials at the San Fernando City Corporation on Monday was unsuccessful, they sought legal advice and a letter was sent to the corporation, but they have yet to receive a response. The vendors maintain that the short notice has left them facing financial losses, while more than 100 workers could be affected by the temporary closure.
There's that. It's close to 100 and something workers going to be out of a job for 2 weeks without notice. At least if you had that 2 weeks, you would have to tell the workers, oh, we don't know how to put aside a little cash for those 2 weeks that come in here. Remember, yes, I'm the manager. My salary will be a little bigger, but my workers who are working for the little less, they will be on a real strain for those 2 weeks. They wouldn't have that money set aside for the groceries, all that sort of thing.
Meanwhile, San Fernando Mayor Robert Parris tells CNC3 News the matter was again raised at the council level today, with the corporation maintaining that the planned works will proceed.
While they acknowledge the vendors' concerns, the council remains resolute that the public interest must come first, especially since it's a health and safety matter.
Mayor Parris added that the council, led by Chief Executive Officer, will make another attempt to engage vendors in an effort to reach a resolution.
All right, it's now time for sport, and the legacy of late TNT Olympian Dion Lendor was celebrated over the weekend. Jassy, tell us about it.
That's right. His former club continues to use his name and memory to provide a platform for the next wave of young track and field stars. We'll get a glimpse, a first glimpse that is, tonight. And while some of us can't hardly wait for it to begin, others are wondering if the World Cup has lost its magical touch. Stick around, sport is next.
Welcome to Holiday Inn Express and Suites.
Do enjoy, Stacey. You want some coffee?
Can I have
Perfect then.
That's exactly what we need.
Hey, the pool is this way.
Whatever you're here for, we're here for you. Stay smart at the Holiday Inn Express and Suites.
Backed by an inspired Denzel Smith in goal, TNT's senior men's football team held Russia to a 3-0 scoreline in their latest international friendly on Tuesday. Here are those highlights. From two previous meetings with Russia, then called USSR, Trinidad and Tobago only has a 1-0 defeat from 1982 and a 2-0 loss in 1990 to show. But any indications that today would yield a different result soon evaporated. TNT custodian Denzel Smith had to make 2 sharp saves inside the opening 7 minutes, but he could not keep out this long-range blast from Mingian Beveyev in the 7th minute, which gave the Russians a 1-0 lead. Smith's interventions kept the Warriors within touching distance. Another save here to deny the hosts, but in the 15th minute, Alexander Silyanov's measured volley amidst chaos inside the TNT penalty area gave the Russians a 2-0 cushion. Having spent the better part of the opening 20 minutes on the back foot, TNT caught a break on the counter-attack here. A goal seemed likely, but Ryan Telfer prodded wide. A tough miss to swallow. Instead, Russia maintained a 2-0 lead at the interval. Whereas they took a 7th-minute lead in the first half, Russia needed 15 second-half minutes to score a 3rd goal, this time Alexei Batrakov getting his name onto the score sheets. A 3-0 lead on the hour mark pointed to a much larger margin of defeat, but Smith was cat-like between the sticks to keep the scoreline respectable. A 74-minute shift worth more than a standing ovation. Still, TNT had one last opportunity to impact the bottom line, but Rion Moore failed to make good on another gilt-edged chance. In the end, though, a 3-0 result was enough to maintain Russia's unblemished record against their Caribbean opponents. Well, after the 90 minutes were up, head coach Derek King said despite the defeat, it was a good opportunity for his group.
What we saw today is that Russia scored their chances. We had some opportunities that we didn't put away. We had moments that we put on the football and play. We were organized, and I think this is games that we needed to take a look of some of our younger players, and I think it was a very good exercise today. On to some cricket news now. The West Indies Academy fought back on the second day of the unofficial test against Sri Lanka emerging players at Hambantona today. Resuming the second morning on 302 for 8, Sri Lanka reached 356 all out, and Jala Bandara, who resumed on 126, was the last man out for 163. In response, the West Indies Academy closed on 270 for 5. Captain Rivaldo Clark is not out on 72, while Mavendra Dindyal scored 60 and Shakir Paris made 65. The Caribbean Premier League has announced an expansion franchise to the women's competition this coming season. Owners of the new men's franchise Jamaica Kingsmen has added the Jamaica Empress to the 3 existing women's teams. The Trinbago Knight Riders will face Barbados Tridents in the tournament's opener before playing the Empress on September 10th and the Guyana Amazon Warriors on the 12th. The top team from the group phase goes straight into the final on September 17th, while the 2nd and 3rd place teams will face off in a playoff on the 16th. West Indies women's captain Hayley Matthews says her team is aiming to win each match at the ICC Women's T20 World Cup. Speaking during the captain's media day, Matthews identified a key element which can make her team successful at the tournament, which starts in a few days.
the game has definitely grown a lot since then. But look, as a group, we've got a lot of new players in, a lot of young players in as well, and it's going to take a fearless brand of cricket. I think when you look at the women's game nowadays, I certainly feel like a lot of records are going to be broken this tournament. And yeah, you're going to have to play a very fearless brand to be able to compete here.
Matthews also commented on the importance of more experienced players sharing their knowledge and experience throughout the campaign. The West Indies women will play Australia in their final warm-up on Wednesday, and then they open the World Cup campaign against New Zealand on Saturday. We wish them the very best. Girls of Impact Trinidad and Tobago held their very first 5K fundraiser entitled Glow Girl Run on Sunday. The race, under the theme Run for Her Health, Empowerment and Resilience, attracted runners and walkers to the Queen's Park Savannah to make their way through St. Clair, Port of Spain. It took Nicholas Romany just 14 minutes 58 seconds to add another 5K success to his growing list. Stefan Gould was second in 15 minutes 15 seconds, and Jamal Bailey placed third in 18 minutes and 2 seconds. Anika Bailey clocked 20 minutes and 1 second as the first woman to cross the line. Renata Charles placed second, and Shania De Freitas was third.
We are doing this to ensure that we can build a community around our cause so that more people are aware of the work that we are doing, and that we really build a community and build that drive to want to push young women and across Trinidad and Tobago in the right direction and create access to tools and opportunities to thrive in their professional and personal lives.
Such a noble cause. Now, local track and field club Abilene Wildcats hosted the Dion Lendo Track Classic at the Hazley Crawford Stadium on Saturday. The one-day meet, named after the late TNT Olympian, was both a tribute to the fallen great and a treat to what lies ahead for TNT's youth track stars. Caston Cupid has the 100-meter highlights.
Cadmiel Graham of Burnley Athletic ran to goal in 13.83 seconds when the boys on the 11-time final got going. Joel Diaz of Cougars Athletic won his heat in a time of 14 seconds flat. That was only good enough for silver. Perseverance Club took bronze thanks to Xavier George, doing exactly what his club name suggests, and came from behind to win his heat in 14.04. Cougars Naomi Phillip stormed to the girls under 13 title in 12.72 seconds. Second place also came from this heat, Meili Lee Fook of Perseverance in 13.26 seconds. Cougars Ruth Dickinson was third in 13.34. In the boys equivalent, Cougars Casimir Duvernay stretched his way to goal in a sizzling 12.55. Right behind him was Stallions Athletic Nkosi Batiste in 13.58. He had to settle for bronze as Victor Caden of Perseverance was second in 13.33. In the girls under 15, ZC Athletics Kenaya Tommy ran 12.25 seconds for the goal. Second was Burnley's Jaylene Mohammed in 13.04 and Kaylee Charles third in 13.19. Simplex Joshua Solomon pipped pace and performances Jarvis Walford in the boys under 15. 11.71 the winning time for Solomon and 11.88 for Walford. Josiah Thompson was third in 11.99. In under 17 division, Neon Wolves Kellys Alexander took goal in 12.01 seconds, while Simplex Amelia Lee Jones and Tasha Debisette settled for second and third. Aidan Davidson had fine form in the boys under 17. His 11.19 seconds won it for Burnley, while silver went to Josiah Rogers and Kimani Groves took third. Alexi Passad and Adelia Blades ruled the under 20 division. Sipasad won in 10.37 seconds, while Blades 12.47 won it in the ladies. In the open men's final, Ariel Kerr of Cougars won in a blistering 10.37. Ravel Webster of Concord was second in 10.42, and Jeremiah St. John of Elite third in 10.15. In the women's open, Memphis pioneer Michelle Liai cruised to victory in 11.43 seconds, ahead of Khadija Pickering in 11.62 and Akela Melville in 12.27. Caston Cupid, CNC3 Sport.
Well, it's the day before the World Cup, and tonight we have some details of the sideline issues threatening to take the loss of this year's tournament.
You're strong. Eco, darling, let's go.
Today's
to go, and there's also a bit of dubious history to report. What was supposed to be a proud moment for the African Federation's best referee has turned sour after Omar Artan was barred from entering the United States. Artan, set to be the first Somalian at a World Cup finals, was put on a plane back to Mogadishu after an 11-hour grilling by immigration officials in Miami, despite bearing a diplomatic passport. He will play no role in the 2026 tournament. Elsewhere, Iran's full fan ticket allocation has been revoked, putting the country's supporters in limbo on the cusp of the tournament. All qualified teams are given 8% of tickets at their matches under FIFA provisions. However, in an unprecedented move, the whole allocation has been taken away. Iran's participation is already shrouded in controversy, with the team staying across the border in Mexico, but scheduled to play their 3 group games in Los Angeles and Seattle. It's all a bit too much for Ian Wright. The former England international summed up the football community's feelings in an emotional TikTok post earlier today.
Every few hours, it's another story. It has to be said. Is this how the hosts behave, really, for the greatest game, the greatest tournament in the world? Is this how the hosts behave? Are we not hearing more? Are we seeing our Qatar got dragged? Are we not hearing more? Is this the spirit of football?
Really poignant matters there, just 2 days before kickoff. Now, there's another World Cup also starting this week, and it's in that pre-tournament where we found tonight's Sport High.
With their T20 World Cup fast approaching, the women are fine-tuning their skills. In the warm-ups, Scotland beat Pakistan, but Iram Javed was on target to remove a diving Catherine Carter. Elsewhere, Bangladesh's Marufa Akhtar was certainly in the mood and bewitched Alana Dalzell for her first of 2 wickets with only her second ball. 2 quality dismissals doubles the fun as Javed and Akhtar share the prize in tonight's CNC3 Sport High.
World Cup cricket, World Cup football is all happening this week. But just before I leave you for my segment tonight, we have just 2 more sleeps until the magic of the FIFA World Cup begins. But just 1 sleep before the Guardian newspaper offers our readers this eye-catching pullout. It comes complete with a breakdown of some of the players and coaches standing on the brink of World Cup history. And this full-page spread to help you keep track of the goals and the results as the tournament unfolds. You do not want to miss out on that opportunity. Pick up your copy of the Trinidad Guardian tomorrow.
Thank you so much, Jassy. Let's take a break. We'll be right back.
Magical Expressions Limited is the largest local importer and distributor of fresh cut stems, offering the widest range of beautiful flowers at the most affordable prices. Call us today at 701-6488 or visit our website to order. Visit Tire Clinic Marketing, New Truck and OTR Tire Service Center at number 30 and 32 Montrose Main Road, Chaguanas. Call today at 665-8973 or 672-3419. Alignment services available. Tire Clinic Marketing, Truck and OTR Service Center. A tire for every need.
Airlines around the world continue to experience a shock on fuel prices. Many have been forced to pass on the increased cost to passengers, leading to higher airline ticket prices.
But if the prices don't drop soon, airlines may have to do more to avoid going into the red. Producer Brent Pinero is in Rio de Janeiro for the International Air Transport Association's AGM and brings us the latest.
Well, it's just over 100 days since the U.S.-Iran conflict began, and the impact it has had on the aviation industry is staggering. Yesterday, the International Air Transport Association's financial outlook predicted a 70% increase in the cost of jet fuel. That cost per barrel expected to average US $152. Now, every airline around the world is dealing with this fuel shock. The airlines in our region have introduced fuel surcharges as they see their fuel bills double. Caribbean Airlines, for example, has introduced a fuel surcharge of US $15 to $25 per sector on tickets, which is helping to ease the burden slightly. Now, outgoing IATA Director General Willie Walsh was quick to say that at an industry level, it's not a fuel crisis. But bring that down to a regional level, and if the situation doesn't improve soon, we could be looking at job losses in the region.
Fuel is a variable cost. If you don't fly, you don't encounter fuel charges. So that leads to decisions to start reducing capacity. So, airlines will analyze the weakest performing parts of their network and will start cutting capacity. or they look at where they have multiple services, reducing the number of services, so to maintain connectivity, but again, to reduce the amount of fuel that they require. And then if that doesn't work, then you're into much larger scale capacity reduction, which will inevitably therefore lead into the requirement for fewer people and potentially lead to job cuts.
Now, in a bit of good news, World Styles IATA will be doing all that it can to recover some of the airline funds that have been trapped in Venezuela for years. Good news indeed for local carrier Caribbean Airlines, which has millions of dollars trapped in the country. Brent Pinero, CNC3 News, Rio de Janeiro, Brazil.
And here's a look at tonight's regional roundup.
4 Caribbean nationals, including a Trinidadian, are among 17 foreigners facing loss of their U.S. citizenship. The U.S. Department of Justice has filed denaturalization actions against the individuals from Trinidad and Tobago, Jamaica and Haiti. Officials say the men concealed serious crimes, including the sexual abuse of minors, wire fraud and drug trafficking during their naturalization process. A new United Nations report warns the Caribbean is facing an epidemic of gang violence and organized crime, threatening both regional economies and state sovereignty. The UN Development Programme reveals that 12 of the 20 countries with the highest global homicide rates are in the Caribbean. The report criticized current tough-on-crime policies for failing to address the structural causes of violence. Trinidad entertainer Cayman 6 is urging Caribbean authorities to lift performance bans that have restricted his livelihood for years. The artist, whose real name is Kashif Sanka, says he has matured and is fully committed to a different path. Sanka was previously denied entry to St. Kitts and Nevis and the Bahamas over security concerns and alleged gang affiliations. He is now asking officials to review these restrictions for himself and other artists who have committed to positive change. Jesse Ramley, CNC3 News.
Well, she hasn't even written the secondary entrance assessment yet, but 10-year-old Amy Eaton has already made history. The academic has become the youngest person in TNT to sit CSEC exams, taking on both Spanish and history this year.
Now, after achieving a remarkable milestone at such a young age, Amy is sharing a simple message with others. No dream is too big to pursue. Chester Sambrano reports.
Excitement, elation, and relief. At age 10, Emma Eaton has become the youngest child to write the CSEC examinations in Trinidad and Tobago, taking on the 2026 Spanish and history papers. She says the support of her father, sister, and teacher, Willa Nurse, pulled her through. We did it. As she walked out of the St. Augustine Secondary School this morning after completing her history exam, Emma detailed her true emotions.
I was kind of scared. I thought I might not be able to do it, but I picked myself up and I was able to do it.
But amid her fears is a resilience that is now inspiring her peers.
My friends, they were surprised that I was able to do this. They wanted to try it as well after they noticed I had done this as well.
Her father, Dr. Jeremiah Eaton, is understandably proud and hoping for the best for his daughter.
She's a very curious child, ambitious child, and I think that's what has driven her to do what she has just done, because she's always aspiring to do something different.
A native of Nigeria, Dr. Eaton has been living in this country for 16 years. As for Emmy,
of course she's a Trini, and her favorite Trini song is Trini to the Bone.
But for now, it's back to her regular work at the St. Joseph Girls RC School, where she will prepare to sit the secondary entrance assessment. And while she has no immediate plans for the future, Emma does have this advice for Trinidad and Tobago.
If they have a dream, they can always achieve it. Just try it.
Chester Sambrano, CNC3 News.
Quite an ambitious young lady. Congratulations to her on such a remarkable achievement, being the youngest in the country to sit CSEC. Even before SEA, I think at that age I was just trying to get through common entrance at that point.
And it's not just any exams, it's Spanish and history.
Two very difficult ones.
Difficult exams.
Congratulations to
Congratulations,
her.
Emmy.
Continue along that line.
Yeah.
All right. That's how we end the 7 p.m. news this evening. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Ria Rambali.
I'm Ryan Beachu.
I am Jassy Marik.
And I'm Sigoni Mohammed. Do have a good night.